So, hello, this is Gorky 17. Steam describes it as RPG strategy turn-based horror game. And it's quite hard game casually. And 5 minutes of RNG hell. So I'm gonna give countdown. It doesn't start right as I click, so I'm just gonna say when it starts. So once we skip this cutscene, we're gonna start the countdown. So 3, 2, 1, go. We start with some tutorial battles. It's not really a big deal, so I'm gonna try to explain why this is 5 minutes of RNG hell. Well, we start with 3 people: Cole Sullivan, Jarekowicz and Fiery, and they have abysmal accuracy. So Cole Sullivan has 90% accuracy, Jarekowicz has 82% accuracy, and
Captain
Fiery, this guy, has 86% accuracy. And the worst part of this all... Yep, that's our first miss. That's not a big deal actually. The worst part of this all is for the first few level ups we cannot raise our accuracy. There are more important things to do. We get 5 points each level up to distribute, but there's some more important things which I'll get later on. So right after this fight I'm gonna be picking up Flamethrower, which is gonna be hugely important, and we're gonna have first skip of the game, which I'm gonna try to explain. So I'm gonna save here just in case. Okay, so first we're gonna walk around the trigger. That's the only battle you can actually walk around, because I guess developers didn't think of that possibility. Oh god, this was scary. I'm gonna use rifle, take, use, and try to enter this trigger right after I pick right at the same time I pick the canisters. What this does is tricks the game into teleporting me here and skipping the encounter, so we may walk out without all the unnecessary walking around. So this is first miss. Okay, so I think, yeah, we're gonna lose a bit time here. But this will give me a chance to explain what the calmness is. And you've seen me decreasing calmness by 4. And what it actually does, what does the calmness do? Oh, great. Yep. Oh wow, that's very bad. It happens. What does the calmness do? It's the only statistic in the game you can actually decrease. And... sorry, it goes over rails, It's the only statistic in the game you can decrease. And each time your character gets hit, also this is the first skip of the game, first real skip of the game. We're gonna save right on the trigger and load the game. And this gets rid of encounter. Not all of the encounters can get rid that way. Anyway, what calmness do? Every time you get hit, your calmness value increases by 1. Once it gets to a maximum, which for Cole Sullivan is right now 6, you get enraged status. And what enraged status does, it doubles your damage. But at the cost of halving your accuracy. Fortunately, I'm gonna heal actually. I took a lot of damage. And I need to take more. So some weapons just cannot miss, like grenades for example, which are one of the best weapons in this game, in my opinion. Also Flamethrower, which is why it's so important. Also napalm launcher, which we got in the tunnel. So coolness is hugely important. So okay. And our first priority is actually decreasing the coolness as low as it can get for Sullivan and for Owitz. This will allow us to deal massive amount of damage later on. But this puts us in a position where Owitz in the first 5 minutes needs to hit 5 shots and he cannot miss a single one. Overall, I've calculated that to get good time you have about 14% of chance not to lose too much time in this game in first 5 minutes. Oh yeah, the chances are not very high. Oh. For a moment there I got scared. 24. I'm gonna take it. Thank you. Yep. 14%. Fortunately we made it. And it's not a bad time. But I just made a mistake. Sorry, this was a brain fart. Fortunately, my time estimate includes that I would need redo some fights. That's why my PB, I cannot say world record properly. My PB is 51 something, and the estimate I gave was like 1 hour and 10 minutes. So we should have plenty of time. Provided I don't put points into the wrong skill again. That's a very good damage. Also, a quirk of this game, your damage can randomly get halved for no apparent reason. Sometimes you're very sure that you're gonna get that 20 points of damage, and then you get 10. It happens. Also, if you see 10 plus 2 or something plus 2 plus 4, those are bonuses from flanking the enemy. So if you shoot them from the side, you get plus 2. If you shoot them from the back, you get plus 4. So that's also something that sometimes it comes in play. This is Trontine. Now, provided always doesn't miss. Yeah, we have backup for this, though. There you go. Now we've decreased its coolness. Now this chest we want to pick up by Trontin because... Oh, also Matrix Disc, that's a plot thing. But we don't really get a lot of plot because every fight that is about plot can actually be skipped. So yeah, we don't get a lot of plot. I'm gonna do some healing here and organizing things. Also gonna save. Now this fight is quite fun. Technically, when third turn rolls around, there's gonna be a sphinx or two sphinxes coming up here to reinforce that, guys. Anyway, the way this game is programmed, that as long as you get rid of every enemy on the screen, the game immediately ends. So this Garcia will die on enemy turn before the reinforcement, so we don't have to fight them. It's quite neat. Also, you can walk through doors.
I don't...
So, this is Smoke Rider. Smoke Rider is quite beefy enemy, has 300 health. It can be tranquilized. Unfortunately, even if it's tranquilized, it can still shoot its rockets. But enemy AI has very strong feelings about hurting each other or itself. So it will never shoot if it would hurt itself or an ally. So that if we position ourselves correctly, it will simply never shoot. Also -5 wholeness for this guy. Quite late. Okay, and finally first level up for Owits, which we can put to accuracy. As you can see that there's still a long way to get him to 100%. But for now we're gonna busy ourselves with Smoke Rider. It's quite a long fight, but it actually gives us an opportunity, because there's another mechanic in this game I have not talked about it, which is weapon skill levels. So each weapon in this game has a skill level with it, has sort of base damage, and your skill level basically depends on, basically says how well you can do damage with this weapon. So if you're level 10 in a weapon, which is maximum, you deal maximum damage with a weapon. So for rifle I think it's 30 or 25. I don't remember exactly.
Demon!
Also this thing we picked up in tunnel. Oh, perfect. 14. It's actually one place in the game where it's bad to have higher damage then 14. 14 is perfect. Anyway, if you have level 10, you deal full damage, but you start with level 1, where you deal about half damage. And the way to skill up your weapons is just by using them. So every 2 shots that hit with a weapon, we don't want counterattack, you get 1 level in a weapon, and there's an enraged status and huge damage that we hope for. And this is the last level up for Sullivan. So the more one person uses the weapon, the more proficient wow, that's a good damage. The more proficient they become at it. So it's quite important to not switch weapons in this game, to make sure one person uses the same weapon. If you would play it casually, you would actually want your party, you would like give all your ammunition to one person. For rifle, another would have like another weapon, one person would be melee. And you would make sure that everyone has a like specialization. Sorry for my English. So that they can get most out of the weapon. Now we skip about half of the fights in this game. Maybe less. Maybe a bit less, but we skip a lot of fights. So we don't really care about ammunition that much. We have this routed well enough that, ammunition is not a problem. So we really wanna get them to deal as much damage as quickly as possible, and that judge fight gave us great opportunity to actually skill up their weapons. About 2 or 3 levels for everyone. So it's a good opportunity. Okay, that was scary. Now we're gonna use Molotov cocktails we took from the chest to kill these guys in 1 hit. Also, this game, while it has a lot of RNG, when you think about... Sorry, I need to focus. When you think about accuracy and things like that, it has a bunch of RNG. But when it comes to the monsters, they always move predictably. So they will, as long as you do the same things and have the same inventory actually, because that's also a thing, they will always move the same way. So menuing, okay, that's good. No, that's not good enough. Oh, almost forgot. They will always move the same way. So at least that's nice. Also, John joined us, my favorite party member when I was a kid. And the first thing he does when she joins our party is hit Owet 3 times in a row. Oh, it's gonna get hit a lot of times this run. Oh, nice. So these guys, hounds, have 40 HP. And it is possible for all 3 of Owit's attacks deal 40 HP or more. I don't need that. Unfortunately, it's rare, but it's every time you get those 40 and kill the monster instantly, you save about 6 seconds. Because if the monster doesn't die, then you have to watch the burning animation, and the burning animation is the worst thing in this game. It loses so much time. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but those are pure RNG. This might have lost a bit less. Wait, I'm supposed to give rocket launcher, napalm launcher. I'm gonna save because this fight can go horribly wrong.
They just keep coming.
Unfortunately, it didn't. Fortunately, it didn't. Fortunately, it went well. So yeah, this area is really straightforward. You have 2 battles here. One skip, which is also a new kind of skip, because up to this point the way to skip the fights was to basically, I think we've skipped 1 so far. So the way we did that was to walk into an encounter, a special type of encounter, and save on the trigger. There is a second way to skip battles here, and those are battles that are after picking up certain items in the world. The weird thing, I guess, is once you pick up an item, you get kind of pickup animation. And halfway through that animation, the item disappears from the world. And at that exact moment, this item is already in your inventory. But the encounter that would follow this pickup doesn't start until the animation stops playing. But you can go to the menu, save and quit, save and load, and you skip the fight this way, because you have it in your inventory, but the fight never starts playing. We're gonna utilize this, I think, 3 times, maybe more. Oh, and that's one of the instances where your damage gets halved for no apparent reason. This is the matrix discs. We need 3 of those. And oh god, thank you. So I was kind of worried because the game might just crash there. And once again, friendly fire is our friend. Don't put that. And if you play this game casually, then you might not have known, like me for example, I didn't know that you can actually push objects around, which really changes the game, especially in one encounter that we're gonna get to much later. Also, funny thing, in this game you can miss barrels even with 100% accuracy, so let's hope for a good luck. Oh, and we got it. I have no idea why, but you can. Also, I once tranquilized Owets here. Once or twice. So we need to give out some ammo. And this is another skip. This is the monitor skip, and this is the skip which can softlock the game, which is why I'm making sure I have 2 saves. I have backup saves in case I accidentally saved on the other, but this allows us to skip really awful fight. I mean, there is a way to make it not so awful, but why do it at all if we can skip it? Also, I need to make sure to give time bombs to Fury, because if I don't, then the enemy move completely differently. Because apparently the enemies can see what you have in your inventory, which is reasonable, right? Not a lot of happening here, just some fancy walking to make sure that every enemy is positioned correctly in order for us to kill them as quickly as possible. So we're gonna tranquilize this bunch so they don't really move, because we don't want that. And this is perfect positioning, which is kind of standard for this fight, because now we can use 2 Molotov cocktails and get rid of a whole bunch of enemies. Oh, that's bad. That's also not that great. Yeah, there's a lot of leeway here. I'm just gonna move frontline here. and make him shoot. So as you can see, the Jet Elmer, this guy, oh wow, I almost killed it. I thought it dealt less damage too than that. And that's another skip. Yes, and unfortunately the game crashes sometimes. Which means it will probably also crash here. So I'm gonna do my best to do this first time. Which I might not have gotten. I got it. So hopefully this will be the last of that. These are usually two places, picking up that matrix disc and these two skips. Also, now we are walking on air.
Evac should be in.
And honestly, this is one of my favorite encounters, because right here we're gonna kill 9 enemies with 4 grenades. Which is really good in my opinion on the resources. Also, you're gonna notice me putting Joan in some very weird position right at the end of this encounter. And this is kind of a manipulation, because normally Joan would leave our party, I know spoilers, a bit later. But we have ways to prevent that, which, as this is scripted leaving of party, leaves Joan in this kind of precarious situation that the game doesn't really know where to put her. The game doesn't really know where to put her. So it will put her in lots of weird places. Sometimes her model will be in one place and her position on the grid will be in completely different place. Sometimes her model will just be off screen. Also another skip. This almost never crashes the game. But I think we're past the crashing part. So the game will not know where to put her, and we can actually... I have no idea what determines where she is put, but I know that this is kind of... This is set. And this can be manipulated by where you put Joan at the end of the last encounter. So each time you move Joan in battle, the next encounter, where she ends up in the next encounter will be determined by where she ended up in a previous one. Also, I forgot to do menuing. That's not a big deal. And that's another skip which can softlock the game. But we got the first try. So here Joan would normally leave the party. Okay. But she's still with us. And she's gonna be really important for a couple fights. So now we're gonna pick up the best weapon in the game, Iron Cannon. This weapon deals massive amount of damage. Also, you don't need crowbar. I mean, we have crowbar, but you don't need it. You can just save and load. And the iron rifle just becomes available for pickup. If for some reason you forgot it, which is unlikely because the chest which contains crowbar is really good.
Captain, is that?
Yeah, once again we hit ourselves, and we're gonna see the full might of Iron Cannon. 114 damage. Also, if you got good eye, you might have noticed that this guy is directly in front of the directly in range in Iron Cannon, but these guys are immune to its effects. I don't remember what's it called exactly, this immunity, but there are immunity to basically anything except for bullets, I guess. Which is also the reason why we didn't use what's it called? Flamethrower on the judge, because judge is immune to fire. These guys are immune to energy, I think. There are guys who are immune to tranquilization, as well as there are guys immune to being frozen. So yeah. If you play this game casually, you're gonna run into this problem loads of times. You think you have great idea how to go about a fight, and then you realize, okay, these guys are immune to what I wanna do.
Oh, thank you!
Sorry, I had to. This is the best voice acting ever. Genuine sarcasm lays words of gratitude to people who just saved your life. I just love this voice line so much. Oh, you stopped. Why did you stop?
Mon Dieu.
And from now on, the fights will basically devolve to us figuring out how to use Ion Cannon most effectively. Also, we don't need her because she's only gonna be throwing things from now on. The one downside to Ion Cannon that I forgot to mention, but it's also a downside to a lot of things, to Flamethrower, to to taser. I don't know what's it. I don't remember right now what is it called. Is a time limitation. So flamethrower you can only use I think every 3 turns, and ion cannon every 4 turns. So that's why we need to wait a couple turns before using it again, and that's 19 damage shot. Not a problem. And there's an encounter, if you wondered why am I saving here. Wow. Usually they wander into this encounter like 2 or 3 times. So, one thing we've picked up from that chest up there is rocket launcher, but we still don't have... okay. We still don't have... Sorry, let me focus a bit. We still don't have ammunition for it. I'm just gonna save in case I forgot anything. But we also picked up drugs, which you've just seen me using on Owitz to give him enraged status. There's only 3, I don't know, tablets or something of drugs in a game. So you need to really think before using them, because they're not that's good. There's not gonna be more of them. Also, you see, Joan is here, but she can throw here. The game doesn't really know what's going on with her. Have it just meh. Let's start. So once again we're gonna poison ourselves, because that's a logical thing to do. And make sure always picks up a flamethrower, because one flamethrower is never enough. You need 2. Especially on the same person. So some menuing here, which I'm gonna try not to mess up. Okay, things good.
I knew it.
Also, this thing has huge range. Like I said, this game is basically friendly fire simulator. Excuse me. So now we have all we came here for. We have rocket launcher, we have ammunition for rocket launcher, and we have matrix disk, which is very important. I'm gonna save here, in case I messed something up.
No.
Now, I said that Joan is very important, but she's nowhere to be seen in those fights. And that's actually a good thing, because a lot of time her role will not be. Also, these guys have attraction protection. Yep, there's a protection for everything in this game. A lot of times her role in these fights is not really about dealing damage or supporting anything. It's just manipulating the AI into doing what we want. And I can't guarantee that this position is the best for this. Oh, I forgot about that little part. We can deal with this, no worries. I was supposed to... Really? I was supposed to flamethrower. I mean, not flamethrower. Sorry. I forget what the weapons are called in this game. I played it for probably hundreds of hours. And yet I still forget. So yeah, anyway, we're gonna poison our guy again. That's kind of dealing damage to your own is kind of the thing in this game. That's a good amount of damage. I'm gonna save just in case I messed up.
What is
Giving out... No, it's okay. So, if you ever play this game casually, you're gonna be really angry right now. And just in case, I'm gonna explain it after the fight. So, the Messiah, which is the name of this boss. Also, the name of the bosses are basically all the monsters, but the bosses in particular are really weird. Whoever came up with them, wow. Anyway, the problem with Messiah is really, in a casual playthrough, is really the game doesn't explain to you what it wants from you. You just get thrown into this fight. The guy is invulnerable to basically anything. And you have to figure out what are you supposed to do, and the game doesn't help really. And the quirk of this boss is that you cannot hit him with anything. Grenades, rocket launchers, whatever. Unless you're standing right in front of him. Anything else, straight up misses. Even the things that should not supposed to be able to miss. So even if you try to go in for like grenades, and you're like, okay, this never misses. It will miss against Messiah. Just this kind of a trolley boss. And the worst part of all, it's designed in a way that if you don't move that chest or whatever that was, then anytime you want to get in, you use 3 points of movement. So you cannot get out. So anytime you move in, you basically left yourself with no way of escaping, because his attack is 3x3 AoE right in front of it. So for casual game playthrough where you have no idea what the game wants you to do, it's awful. Just plain awful. But I like this fight. Once you know the strat, it's so satisfying. Also in this fight, the way these guys moved was exactly because Joan was placed perfectly. If she was even one tile off, then this whole strat would fall apart. She was up in the wall somewhere there. I forgot to point it out. Oh good. This is the stair glitch, where they just don't know what's going on. So we're gonna be closing in on the end actually. There's gonna be not technically 2 more fights, but practically 1. And we get some good RNG. Let me not mess this up, because this is another gimmick. These guys are invisible, but if you know where to shoot, that's not really something that's gonna stop you. Nice, luck is nice. Yeah, the only reason these fights are going so fast, honestly, is because they are well orchestrated, they are well planned. And we're using all of available resources to us. If you were to go about this casually, each fight might take you about 15-20 minutes just figuring out what to use. You're gonna be so low on supplies. This game is really brutal when you go about it the normal way. So, last 2 fights. The first one is really a joke because of that energy beam we picked up earlier. Also, we're fighting humans now. Why is that? Definitely not because of the whole story we skipped. Also, the last boss is really a joke. It's gonna be similar strategy as the cripple, except it cannot be frozen. I mean, if I messed up and didn't move Trontin here, this would turn ugly very, very, very quickly. Because the gimmick of this boss is that it... oh, one turn too much. It can tranquilize right in front of it. Like, if you're standing right in front of the boss and it's not... it can move, then it's gonna tranquilize you. And once one of your party members is tranquilized, things get downhill fast. So we're gonna be coming up on the end quite soon. That's a good time, honestly. Was that 4 or 5? So the end will be when the victory appears on the screen, so right now. And that's Gorky 17. Thank you for having me. This was stressful, but fun. Thank you all. And I guess that's all from me. I probably should thank the people who did work for this game, the Boromir and a couple other people, but it kind of flew out of my mind right now. But yeah, it's really fun game. It's really fun speedrun if you get past first 5 minutes. And like you see, even with bad luck, you can get quite a good time. So once again, thank you.